Another big week on the way. Is anybody out there tonight? There we go. Looks like it's coming on. Hey, Wayne. Hey, Donnie. All right, we're going to do this one more time while things get rolling. All right, so bear with me as we go through the warm-up one more time. Shelly, Melissa, Leda Paris Scoville, Janet, Donnie. Okay, this is more like it. Now I'm seeing people. Although my monitor tells me no one's watching. Debbie Moore, nice to see you. Tiffany from Iowa. Judy, hey Judy. Eva, Jan. Skip. Jackie. All right. Yeah, I'm glad to see you guys. I tell you what, it is it's crazy time. I see Buckshot 1812 Hola over on YouTube. You know, that's a cool thing about having multiple channels, right? Hey, this is Jim with Crawfordology. If you haven't seen us for a while, it's because I've been out of the country. But I'm back. I'm back safely. COVID is not slowing us down. Not at all. Hey, if you haven't done it already, make sure that you subscribe. Hit that little subscribe button or the like on Facebook button. I got to figure out which way to move my hand. Come follow us. Hang out with us. We like it. Susan from Kentucky. I love when I see my Kentucky family here, right? It's always nice to see Kentucky on. And Annette, I get it. Don't always get to see us. Well, Rio, Wisconsin. Is it cold in Rio? It's probably cold in Rio. All right, let me get on with the show. Tonight. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. A lot has happened. So I want to share with you that Cynthia and I, we had a fantastic, this was our 30th anniversary, and I should have found a picture to kind of share with you. Our anniversary was actually in January, but we had planned this trip to go and see some things we wanted to see for a while. So we went to Greece, and we got to really see some cool stuff, and that'll be another show. I'll share all that. So much happened while I was away, and just when I was coming back, I came back in time to vote in the Virginia election, which, by the way, you know, way to go, Virginia. No, that's the Democrat laughter, right? So, or is that Kamala, right? So the folks in Virginia did a wonderful thing, you know, back on election day. In Virginia, we have that kind of odd, like New Jersey, every off year we have an election, and Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears as governor and lieutenant governor, fantastic. Jason coming in as the attorney general, and it looks like we've turned the state house red. So what a change, what a big difference that's happening inside Virginia in just a short period of time, and I can't tell you how excited I am about that. It does show that you can still have a conservative message, you can still get to those people in middle America, and you can make a difference. And congratulations to all the candidates that fought some really hard battles. I'll tell you, if you guys watched it, Youngkin and that whole ticket, I mean, those folks were traveling every day, 5-6 different places. It looked like Trump running for president. I mean, they were everywhere. Every time you turned around in Virginia, oh, there goes one of the Youngkin folks, right? So really a really nice thing, and a really fantastic way to start out our return trip. So we were very happy to be back in the country. anytime you go to a foreign country, and we travel as much as we can, but anytime we travel, we always are so excited to come back to America, right? It's so special. It's so different. Um, and there's just a feeling that you get with Americans that you just don't get anywhere else. So, despite sometimes complex, uh, our complex way of dealing with one another, our fights, our tiffs, our battles with left and right and liberal and conservative, but truthfully, there is nothing like coming home to America and seeing the American flag and seeing our good American folks. And I just love it. We're happy to be back, and we're happy to see all the things that are happening, here today. Now, I want to move at the beginning, and in fact, we're going to take a couple easy issues right up front. So let me take you over to the browser at American One. Sorry. So at American One, if you haven't been here before, please visit. It's a place where we put the stories up. There are articles all the time, and you'll notice that we have not been showing a lot of stuff about Kyle Rittenhouse, but we are going to talk about Kyle tonight. So I want to before we jump into that, we're going to start with a couple other things. I want to just be happy and congratulate. I don't know if congratulation is the right word, but it looks like today Senator Leahy, Democrat from Vermont, has finally decided that after 150 years, he's no longer going to run for the Senate. And I'm sure he was a wonderful senator for the people of Vermont. I am sure it was probably time for him to retire more than a couple of years ago, right? So, but at least he's decided now to step down. That is a sign that I always appreciate when I see the party that's in power starting to announce, we're not going to run. We're not going to do this. We've heard that in Florida, they're not going to run a Democrat candidate, or at least they're not going to throw money into the hat against the governor of Florida, right? Because when things are going well, things really can go well. And we've got that happening right now. So, all the best to Senator Leahy. Happy retirement. I don't want to be rude. I just won't be rude. Okay. The President Biden, with all the things that are going on, has felt the need to talk a little bit about everything. And some of it maybe didn't make any sense at all. Some of it made some sense. Interestingly, he is meeting President Xi from China today, and they're having some sort of some sort of virtual call. This is really a weird thing for me, because to hear that the sticking points for President Xi, and it's hard for me to say, I don't know why, President Xi, and to hear Biden, and one of the conversational points, one of the points they're going to talk about is China and Taiwan. So what does China say? Well, they want to know, are you going to basically defend Taiwan if we decide we would like to be in Taiwan? Kind of like they did. What was the other? We saw them going to Hong Kong earlier, right? And they did this. So if it's like Hong Kong, or is it something more substantial? And not that you can get much more substantial, by the way. They drug people out in Hong Kong, threw them in prison. There are still folks who were living under the free rule in Hong Kong that was agreed to, and they're still sitting in prison now, and they've been kind of locked away to ensure that, hey, all of these things don't get any worse for China. Really, it doesn't have anything to do with if it's good or if it's part of the deal that was happening in country. When China was given back by the British to China, when Hong Kong was given back through a treaty, there were some terms, and we've covered them on this show before, that were supposed to be expected. And part of that was that Hong Kong was still going to be able to operate under a kind of pro-democratic capitalist environment. Well, not so. Now China, and Xi has already stated that he's not going to leave Taiwan, what he calls the Taiwan problem, for the next generation. So expect that in our lifetime, meaning really in something less than a few years, I think we're going to see China take action to take over Taiwan. And, there's a whole, boy, we could do 3 or 4 shows on that. So interesting that the president is there. And that's the piece that we're really watching. So here you've got, he's not there, but he's there and virtually. And the president's there with Z. And that's one of the questions that he's answering is, hey, what about this? They're also working on their Belt Road initiative. So their Belt Road gives them a land road all the way across Europe for shipping, which means they don't have to worry about U.S. naval power. You may have seen in the news lately that China's doing some things, creating some targets that look a lot like U.S. warships and U.S. aircraft carriers, and they're bombing those and they're working on those and they're doing different things. So we've got to pay close attention. We've got to hold our leaders accountable. We've got to keep the pressure on the U.S. senior leaders to draw a hard line with China. There are several things that do not make sense. They just don't add up. The oil crisis. So we have this oil crisis where production numbers are down. Everybody sees, we all see what it's like at the gas pump. We can all look and see what it was the last few days that Trump was in power versus there's Zeus. Zeus says hello. Versus where things are now. And when we see where things are now, we understand that that's driven by supply and demand. Well, what was the first thing that we saw Biden do? He turned off the Keystone Pipeline. He shut down other drillers, other operators. So he's limited the supply of crude oil and the ability to get the oil to the places it needs to go. Yet, what message is he sending to Russia and OPEC? You guys need to increase the oil production over there. We need more oil. I think this is the most absurd thing that I can imagine. And why is this? It's very political. It's not good for him if the people who work in these oil fields, who tend to be conservative because they have to work hard for their money, they have to show up every day, perform and deliver a service. It's not good with the AOC crowd when she sees that the drills are running in Texas and that people in America are actually getting a benefit from this, because that doesn't really connect with her New York City, attitude. How can I align that with my Green New Deal? I will fly this jet around. I will do this. I'll do that. But I don't like these guys drilling oil in the U.S. So Biden's plan here in China is very similar. He's supportive of the one China policy, which has been a policy for the U.S., I think, since at least Obama, maybe Clinton, and I'll check that. I'll make sure that I'm right on that, because it could have been earlier. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of this meeting, if anything. Do we really have someone capable of having these high-level negotiations and high-level discussions and representing the needs and the interest of the United States? So first question for you guys tonight, and I just want to see what your thoughts are. Just type in your thoughts. Tell me, can Biden carry the water when it comes to negotiating with not just Xi, but other world leaders? Is he capable of doing that? And I will set back. I will enjoy to offer anybody who says he can. We'll have a chat about it. We'll have a conversation, even if it's just a text conversation. All right, so on to the big deal tonight. Kyle Rittenhouse. And I will tell you, I am so troubled as I watch to think that, here's this 17-year-old kid. Yeah, he made a 17-year-old decision that night, thought it was a good idea to go down and help folks. That doesn't seem like that's terrible. Probably not a great decision to go down in a group of people as lawless as this group of folks, right? I mean, there were some really lawless folks. Now, I'm going to play a 5-minute video, okay? I'm going to play a 5-minute video, 5 minutes and 9 seconds. And I want you to know that before I play it, it's going to show the shooting. It's going to show a whole series of things. So actually, I'm sorry, it's not 5 minutes and 9. This first video that I'm going to play for you, I'm not going to play the sound. I'm going to kind of talk you through it. But I want you to just see this is the beginning of a bad night in Kenosha for Kyle, but also for several other folks. So we go to the screen now. If you if you haven't seen this stuff already 1,000 times and you don't want to see it, now is probably a great time to turn away. You can listen or do whatever you like, but don't watch this. don't watch what we're gonna do. Okay. So here is Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha. You see, this is what they call what they call this guy, the kick guy. So flying kick guy or something. Watch what happens here as this kind of night proceeds a little bit. So we have this go from our flying kick guy to Rittenhouse hitting the head with the skateboard, right? And if you look through the series of things that are happening and you watch the slowed down footage, you can see here they charge Kyle first degree intentional homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. Okay. He did cause the death of Anthony Huber with intent to kill, and upon conviction shall be imprisoned for life. Okay. Huber, interestingly, from a Washington Post article, battling a bipolar disorder, okay, convicted, 2 times sent to jail, brandished a butcher knife, threatened to kill his family, okay, upon release of his second prison stint, 7 years sober, heroin use, a lot of problems, right? He choked his brother, threatened to gut him like a pig if he didn't clean the dishes, clean the house, right? Convicted of strangulation, false imprisonment, placed on probation, violated the terms, went to prison in 2017. Then he came home, got into another argument over the state of his house, this time with his sister, goes back to prison on charges of disorderly conduct. Now, you may have seen family members who were petitioning, or testifying as if, hey, this was just the salt of the earth kind of guy. I guess all families would do that, right? I'm not saying that families can't do these things, but come on. You can see here what happens, okay? Hit to the head with the skateboard, right there. He reaches for the gun. He's got a hold of the gun, and that's not always evident. So Huber has a skateboard in his right hand, and then he reaches the defendant and appears that he's reaching for the defendant's gun. And you can see he pulls it forward. So he pulls the gun forward. We've watched this a number of times. It's slowed down. So he hits him in the head. He reaches over with that other hand, the free hand, and he grabs at the gun and pulls it towards him. Now, before this, what you have to see is that there are many moments, okay, of going through Rittenhouse trying to leave. He's trying to run away. He's already been hit. He's already been hit in the head 2 times with the skateboard. He's running away. He's trying to get away. And they continue. Here he is, in his, nothing irritates me more than to call Rittenhouse a vigilante, right? He's not a vigilante. He's got, as we heard in today's closing statement, he takes his body armor, he gives it to a friend. Hey, I'm going to be working first aid, but he wants to be safe. He's seen people getting shot. He's seen people getting beaten, and he's seen property being destroyed. He's thinking that this gun is a deterrent for bad things to happen, right? This is the immaturity of a 17-year-old, not some nefarious nature where he set out to clean house. Even in all the rounds that he fired, I think there was 1 round that missed, right? He held a remarkable amount of self-control and pausing before shooting. We see that, throughout the night, he shows a professionalism and a desire to do the right thing. He tries to break contact. He tries to move away. He tries to get away. Even when after firing the first shots, he doesn't just start shooting, right? He has a lot of self-control here, a lot of self-awareness in how he manages that. Now, the truth is, everybody's making bad decisions that night. I think Rittenhouse made a bad decision to be there. Clearly, I know if he could do it over again, he would say, I don't need to be there, right? I shouldn't be there. So there are many things, and I just see now Rhonda here is, you know, trying to connect with folks in such a nice way that we'll block her and let her go do that somewhere else. Sorry about that, folks. But here is Rittenhouse, and he's made maybe the bad decision of showing up with the right intention. His intent was good. His execution, in realizing that hey, things have really gone from bad to worse. Things are really elevated. What I'm also troubled by is that the police are failing to maintain order at this point, and there's absolutely no concern with that from the community. We don't hear that from the lawyers. We don't hear about what the city government is doing to maintain order and control the folks and protect private property. One of the key differences that we have in our constitutional republic is the way we perceive private property and the way it's protected. So you have a right to protect, you have a right to own property, you have a right to protect it, you have a right to seek recourse in court when that property's been damaged, taken, whatever. So it's very disheartening to see what's happening here as Kyle, with the best of intent, comes in and he faces literally 2 felons, and all 3 of these folks have some issues that are going on. Yes, Jillian, that is a Jesus bobblehead. I am, and it's not meant to be disrespectful. It's the bobblehead of the Lord and Savior. So as this goes on, and there you can see him grabbing the gun. Okay, you see his hand reach down, pulling at the gun. So Anthony Huber is, despite what we heard from family members, right? I mean, lots of trouble, lots of things have been going on in his life, and things not working out well. He's already hit Kyle in the head 2 times with the skateboard, and now he goes for the take of the gun. Kyle has a 3-point sling, which has the gun tethered to his body. You can't just pull it away. You can't just snatch it, right? So despite his desire to do that, and Kyle's able to respond, thinking probably that he's about to get whacked again, these people are yelling, "We're going to kill you." So it's no question to me. It's no question, right? They also call it reckless homicide, and he fired 4 rounds. 4 rounds went into the target. It's a little bit hard to justify that if it's a homicide, that it's reckless, right? So these things are difficult to see, difficult to understand. I want to hear what you guys are thinking, but let me show you this one. This is the 1:48 video. We're going to play this thing in its entirety. I'll play it with sound, and let's see what happens. Well, we know what happens, but let's talk about it afterwards. Hit in the back of the head. Pushed. Falls. All right. The only shot that missed is the first target. And now he's moving away. He's breaking contact. See the graffiti? Listen to all the other shots being fired down there. Right? He's running. Now you can see the police at the end of the street. And this video from Brendan Gutenschwager via Storyful. Hands up. He's trying to turn himself in. Captain Obvious back in the background. Now look, watch how many cars go past him. Hands up. One car's going to back up. Hey, I don't want to get in this. Armored cars move up. Tactical vehicles. Communicate with him. He's pointing down to say yes. Oh, they're telling him to get out of the road. Okay. So, folks, there it is. There it is. So tonight, we're on the jury. I'd like to hear from those of you who want to chime in, guilty or innocent. Type it in. Give me the message. You can just be G or I, guilty or innocent. I'd like to hear your thoughts. You know, has he really brought this on himself? Or is he actually just he's an honest kid. He's there trying to help, and he's put in a no-win situation, and he's got to do something. I think personally that there's no way that he should have ever been charged. And I think if it weren't for the politicization of this sort of issue, we would see this would never have happened. And I'm surprised that those investigators who were asked to do this recommended charges. I'm surprised that the prosecutor has shown, such disregard in many ways in this courtroom, and frequently grabbing the ire of the judge. I had hoped that the judge was just going to find a mistrial with prejudice and leave it at that. I think that the judge suspects that this is going to end quietly. And I think that there's also a big concern probably in the judge's mind, and probably in others, other politicians who aren't necessarily concerned about Kyle's freedom or his rights any more than they were concerned with the rights of private citizens that night as they allowed these protests to just storm out of control. So in a lot of ways, I think that this is political gamesmanship. It's the idea that, can we demonstrate something? Who cares what the outcome is? Who cares? Let's just make this go away. We don't want to burn our cities down again. We can't go through this again. Put the kid in jail. Do this, do that. So I think the A is acquit. All right. So we got innocence. I haven't seen anybody with guilty yet. I've seen not guilty. You almost fooled me there, Susan. I thought I saw the guilty, and I thought, finally somebody that we're going to talk to. But then there was the not. Shirley, you did the same. You guys are messing with me. No sound. No sound. You guys can hear me, right? I see John Graham can't hear us, but and I have to check, because sometimes these weird things happen and people can't hear me. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. One or two of you, because all I have to do is know that one of you can hear me. Then it's got to be on John's end. All right, good. Thank you, Judith. Thank you. So at the end of the day, is it really one? I'm curious if he's acquitted. What does he have in terms of his ability to actually go back to the court system now? Go back to these. There are some terrible, and I watched some earlier, some terrible reporting that came through right after this happened in Kenosha that have really libeled him. Heck, we've had President Biden said he was a vigilante. I mean, all of these folks that have made those claims. I'm wondering if we don't see some libel suits out of that turn into potential cash back to Rittenhouse. And my goodness, I don't know what the cost of his defense has been. I don't know what the cost on his personal reputation, but look, let's face it. At any rate, I bet if he could roll back the hands of time and say, I'm just not going, or if his mom could say, no, you're not going, that he would do it, right? He would just say, forget it. The cost is not worth going through all the things that I've had to go through. And the next day, the jury got the case this evening, 5 or 6 o'clock. So now they're coming back in tomorrow. That's right. I mean, his life is never going to be the same, regardless of if he's right or if he's wrong. And I don't think he's wrong in this. I don't. I wish it hadn't happened, but I also wish that there hadn't been people just destroying cities. I wish that there hadn't been people abusing people, right? That Anthony Huber hadn't been running around hitting people with the skateboard like we saw on video. I wish that folks would have been doing better things, right? If we were upset, if this was a pressure cooker, maybe I wish they would all been sitting in a boardroom somewhere talking about it. But instead, we've got many lives changed. We have lives that have been ended. We have lives that will there will be places. There will be places after this that Kyle Rittenhouse just can't go, right? Regardless of if he's acquitted or whatever happens. But there will be places that he can't go. You know? And that's a shame, because all indications, everything that I see on the other side appears that he was a good, upstanding citizen. I mean, he wants to go. He wants to help. His desire is to get out there and help the community. He's thinking that he's able to walk in there and make a significant difference on the outcome. Hey, if I'm there, they won't do this. If I'm there with a gun, I can persuade, discourage, whatever it may be, other people who want to riot and tear down and destroy. But he wasn't able to do that. Yeah, Phyllis Ann Anderson says his dad lives there. He said that's why he went. And that's probably very true, right? All I'm saying is he probably wouldn't do it again. If he would, he probably needs to get some counseling, because going through something like this for the sake of satisfying other folks, or to do it just to poke the bear, just because we could. Look, I'm not even for that. I'm not even for that. So here's what I want to say, and kind of the silver lining in this is there are changes, because I have noticed that even liberals who watch this case have a hard time reconciling. Now, wait a minute. This guy was a 17-year-old kid, and he's running away, and they're chasing him. He has a gun, and they're chasing him. There's something wrong with these people. He hasn't done anything other than be there. And because he's got a gun, because he's there, they decide they're going to run him down. They're going to threaten him. They're going to kill him. You know, the mob mentality is saying, here's what we're going to do to you. So he's running away, and weird things are happening. So the silver lining is there are many people in the middle. There are many people that are not far left, not these progressive wackos. These folks who believe we have no right to have any rules at all. We have no right to create community standards. We have no right to say, hey, this is how we're going to live as a society, as a free people together. There are groups of people who believe, and it's these far left progressives who believe that everything is okay. And when everything is okay, that means there is nothing that's wrong. There's nothing that's wrong. The only thing that's wrong these days is you can't be a white male conservative or even a white female conservative, right? You can't be a Hispanic or a black conservative, because if you are, clearly you've been Uncle Tom'd. You're really not black. You're really not Hispanic. You're really not part of the tribe. You're part of this other system that has persuaded you, brainwashed you, held you back, and continues to hold you down today, no matter how successful you are. It is very refreshing. It's supposed to be the silver lining. It's supposed to be a light, a lift up, right? And what I have seen, and I've heard from a few folks, that, hey, I can't get behind that. I'm not trying to put Rittenhouse in prison. There's also a significant fragmentation. We talked about it on here before, between the normal Democrats. There are good normal Democrats. And what I'm talking about are the Democrats who love America. They love our country. They're not trying to burn it down. They're not trying to melt down American ideas, American exceptionalism. They want to have a country. They just have a slightly different view of it. You know, these are people who think a little probably more in terms of the old blue dog Democrats. They might feel different socially, but when it comes to America, hey, they're still American. They are having a hard time reconciling themselves with the far left parts of the liberal agenda or of the Democrat agenda. And I think this is a problem for Nancy Pelosi. I think it's going to be a problem for Joe Biden. I think it's going to be a problem for America until we resolve the issue and convince these folks that, hey, we're not here, we're not for, and we don't want to become this leftist refuge where people do whatever they want. They can act like animals. They have no rules. There is nothing that is socially unacceptable. I don't want it. I know you don't want it. And I think that we can see America is starting to waken up to it. And my suspicion is in a year's time, we're going to see a substantially different makeup in the House of Representatives. And we're going to see some really good news in these midterms. If you will tonight, before you go to sleep, say a prayer for Rittenhouse. You know, he's got to have a heavy heart. His fate may very well come to him tomorrow. One thing the judge did I didn't like is that he's allowing lesser charges to be considered. And that seems like that there's a problem with that, just in my maybe not a legal problem, but just personally, it feels like that allows you to do anything that you want. Just charge them with the worst possible crime. If we don't get them on that, we'll throw something else in at the last minute so that we don't look like idiots and it doesn't look like we wasted all the state's money. So tonight, say a prayer for Kyle, say a prayer for his family. Look, say a prayer for our nation and say a prayer for the families of these folks who were lost. Clearly, there was something going wrong there. Clearly, things aren't right. We've got to find unity in our country. We've got to find a way to get back together. You guys have a great night. I will see you again probably this week.